What's up, guys, and welcome back for another EVE Online video. This one's going to be going over mining ship ROI. I see a lot of discussion both on the channel and just kind of in general online about mining ships, their configuration, how long does it take to replace them based on a set of conditions. There is a lot of conditions that kind of go into how long it takes you to mine and pay for that ship before you start seeing a profit. This is an important factor to consider as a miner because ganking does happen. You know, if you're in nullsec, getting a blobston happens, losses happen. So you want to make sure that you understand how long it really takes for you or us to replace a single ship, and make sure that you're mining the correct things. And it matters greatly what you mine. It matters greatly how much your fit and everything cost. And hopefully at the end of this video you'll have a better understanding of how skewed the market can be in terms of what mining equipment and ships cost, and really how much minerals kind of play into paying for that ship, and how long it takes, how many mining hours it takes to replace all that stuff. Now, in true fashion, I have a nice spreadsheet worked up where I have a lot of this information already plugged in. That way we can just kind of talk about it. We can plug some different ore value or ore type values in and see kind of how it affects everything. So let's go and bring up that spreadsheet and I'll kind of walk you through what we're looking at here. Up here at the top, this is the ore info. So I have a separate veld right now. The volume per unit is 0.1 on Veldspar, and right now, as you can see on the market window, our buy order is about 11.25. I went with the buy order because it's actually a higher value than the sell. At least all these remote sell orders right here. I mean, you look at station here, it's like 11.6 and everything. So what we'll do is we'll change this over to 11.26 just to satisfy the sell order. And then down here, this is every ship and also cost. So this cost here is going to be the ship plus the fit, drones, crystals, all of that. So I tried to build them all kind of roughly the same. Didn't skimp on tank or anything. So we're looking at Tech 2 tank. We're looking at mod strips with type B2 crystals, since we're trying to get the most yield per cycle, or the most M3 cubic meter, the most volume per second on this stuff. So I wanted the cost in this to reflect what you'd actually purchase if you were full-fledged building this for survivability, balancing survivability and yield. So as you can see here, the venture here, the cubic meter per second, I've already tallied all these up for every fit, and a lot of this won't be too surprising. And then I have the mining holds in here, and then we'll kind of go over the rest of this stuff as we kind of move through. One little caveat to note here, I have the porpoise in here and the orca. Now these numbers for these command ships are drone mining, so keep that in mind. And also, this is a baseline, so if you have any of your ships being boosted by the orca's mining burst or the porpoise mining burst or whatever, all these numbers will go up. Well, the actual hours will go down, but the volume and all that stuff will scale based on whatever you're doing. Same if you're in like a system with the 10% mining speed and everything. So all these numbers are basically unboosted with modulated strip miners and type B2 crystals. So I wanted to throw the porpoise and the orca in here just to contrast a little bit too on kind of how bad drone mining is in terms of ROI, especially in the case of the orca here. Now I have the mining hold in here just to help calculate how long it takes in minutes to fill up that mining hold with whatever ore that we have selected up here. And then this field here just shows what the value of that uncompressed ore is, what the value of your hold is when you're ready to go to station to compress, or obviously if you're on grid with a porpoise or orca, you can compress and all of that stuff. And then here, lastly, is the very important metric that we will be looking at is the ROI in hours. Now, as you can see here, we're going to kind of run through this a little bit, and then we'll start playing with the numbers a little bit. For a venture that cost 8.6 million, it'll take you roughly 10 minutes to fill it up, and at that rate, with that type of ore, 2.5 hours to pay for that ship. So after 2.5 hours of mining, and you haven't lost your ship from ganking or whatever, then you are making a profit at that point. And then we can kind of follow this same logic down the list here. Prospect being about 43 million, its ore hold value is about 1.4 million. It takes about 9.3 hours to see your to pay for that ship there. And then the endurance is about 10.7 hours, and then procure is 16, and so on and so forth. When you start getting into the exhumers here, especially like the skiff, the Mackinac, and the Hulk is really nice. It's kind of in there between the Covetor and the Retriever. It fills up very, very quick, just like the Covetor does. But like I said in most of my mining videos, taking the Hulk and the Covetor out with a Porpoise is probably the ideal situation. If you watch the solo mining series, you know that I use a Mackinac, and about 20 minutes to fill up is right on the money for that. And if I'm mining in a 10% observatory system, I'm doing it in about 18 or so. Now, here's the next important factor here when you're thinking about trying to change or trying to pay off that ship. It does matter what you mine. So right now this is set to Veldspar, and the reason I like to mine Veldspar is because you can fit, it has a very good ISK per M3. You can fit a lot of units. So here we go. Let's look at Plag real quick. Let's go and bring up the info sheet for this. And as you can see, Plag, its volume is 0.35. So we're going to go ahead and change this over. Go Plag, and then we're going to go 0.35 on that. And then just like we did with the Veldspar, we are going to look at the station value. So 44.38. So we're going to plug that in there. And so here you go. For the venture, it brings it down to still 10 minutes to fill up, because you're obviously still doing the same amount of volume per second. And then there's your hold value. And then that brought it from a or 2.5 hours to about 2.2. Now, if you were to sell all this ore to the buy orders, which is 32, then it starts to look a little worse, right? And that's where these margins can really start really affecting how much you have to spend mining. Pyro here, this is a 0.3, so has a little bit less of a volume. Let's go ahead and look at the sell value on this. So you're looking at about 25, 24 on buy. So let's go and put in 25 here for the sell order here. You see right here the venture, now it's going to be 3.4 hours to actually get that one. And a lot of these other numbers, especially for like ships that you would pair with a command ship, are going to pay for themselves pretty quickly once you get burst running, the compression running. Like all these hours are going to be vastly reduced. But if you're actually just out there just mining and you don't have a command ship yet, and you want to make sure you're breaking even, then these numbers do become a lot more important. And as you see down here, the Orca is just crazy. Like if you just solo drone mined in an Orca, you're looking at 255.7 hours to break even on that. Now, you can also see the disparity between like the Porpoise and all the other things. The price gradually goes up as you go up in tier, but then like you go from like almost 400 million for the Porpoise to 2.1 billion for the Orca. So the Orca's cost is insane, and in terms of like, as much as I love drone mining, just doesn't make a whole lot of sense these days and things like that. The other thing too to note is, let's go back to Veldspar, and you'll probably see me a lot on video. I am usually going for the dense stuff or the tier 2, tier 3 kind of stuff. So let's go throw this back to Veld. This is going to go back to 0.1, and then we're going to be looking at dense value here. So we'll go with station here. So 13.08, which is more than the buy. So 13.08 there. So just by like going out there with a venture and focusing on dense Veldspar, you're down to the 2.1, which is actually doing better than if you were just going straight plag on that. So that's why I usually try to go for those tier 3s, those tier 2s when I can, because it can make a difference, especially at scale, if you look at it from a pretty wide, long-term kind of timeline and everything. And then the other thing you can also help manage here is if you don't have Tech 2 tank, then obviously you can make your fit as cheap as possible. The cheaper you can make your fit, the better these hours are going to look as well. But for this, all intents and purposes, I try to put as much EHP on my mining ships as possible. I'll do a whole other video going over really fattening up the tank on mining ships and kind of what you give up on yield versus how much EHP you get and what that kind of translates. But having a lot of tank on your mining ship is very important. Will it save you? Will it allow you just to hang out on grid? No, because the idea is that the PvP and the kind of like ganking that goes on in high sec, they're gonna bring enough to kill you if they have enough, if they prepare enough. So the idea is always try to get off grid when you can, but in that small window when they're already putting targets on you and you're still warping out, you want to try to make those moments. You want to have all that tank at your disposal in those moments. But I'll make, like I said, I'll make a whole other video going over like kind of mining ship tank and strategies, and we'll kind of talk about that more in depth. But I think it's good to just kind of see how the hours kind of stack up versus what you're mining. And obviously when you go out and mine, in most cases you're going to have a mixed bag, so these numbers are going to be all over the place, especially if you're out there with a porpoise. I do recommend, kind of, if you have 2 accounts, try to run with like a Mackinac and then a porpoise allowing you to compress. That means you don't have to come off grid. You can kind of just keep stacking a lot of value, and you end up getting a lot more ISK per hour that way, and you vastly increase the amount, or you vastly decrease the amount of time it takes to pay off those ships when you pair it with mining burst and everything. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. This one was a suggestion in the comments on the channel for me to just kind of talk about how long it takes to kind of make the money back after buying these mining ships. Mining ships are definitely expensive. Whenever I started about 3 years ago or so, I can remember the Orca being half the price it is now. And also just everything else has been just going up in price pretty steadily. So being very mindful about what you are out there mining is important. That's why I try, like I said, go after those tier 3, tier 4s. I usually stay away from Scordite. I'm usually on that Veld, on that Plag. Pyro, if I absolutely, feel like torturing myself and everything. But just be mindful of all that stuff. But thank you for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.